Hey there, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Motobo, and today we will be continuing the series in which I chronicle the creative process behind designing the Fakemon for my hypothetical Pokémon region, the Mista Region. In the last episode, we met the water starter of the Mista Region, Wacket, the Whacktail Pokémon. Now that all three starter Pokémon have been introduced, we will be meeting and learning about each of their evolved forms in the next few episodes. In today's episode, we will be discovering both the evolved forms of Igby, the grass starter of the region, whose name I forgot to mention is based on a combination of the words iguana and baby. In the first episode of this series, I introduced Igby for the first time, but I did a poor job of explaining, if at all, the concept that went into Igby's design. I also intentionally left out details regarding the inspiration for all the starter Pokemon's designs to keep their evolutions a bit of a mystery. Now that we're meeting all of their evolved forms, I can go in depth into the ideas that I had when initially conceptualizing these Fakemon. Regarding the theme of the starter Pokemon as a trio, I wanted each of the lines to represent a different walk of life based on stereotypes of various social classes. I wanted Igby's line to represent the sort of high class or royal side of society, with the final form being very elegant and regal. Starting off, we have the second stage of the grass starter evolution line that follows Igby. In the interest of time, I'm going to cut down the drawing process for this video to a few key moments. If you want to catch the full speed paint for these designs, you can find it in another playlist on my channel. The middle evolution for this starter line came pretty easily to me as I already had a good idea of how I wanted the final evolution of this line to look, so it was just a matter of making a convincing looking in-between for the first and final stages. If Igby was based on a carefree toddler from a wealthy family, then the next evolution would be based on more of a stereotypical preppy rich kid. Out of the three starter lines, I also wanted to make the grass starter line the one with the most feminine of the final forms, as starter trios in Pokemon seem to typically follow a pattern of one being more feminine, one that is more masculine, and one that is cool, I think. With that in mind, I wanted some of that feminine elegance to bleed through this character's design while still maintaining that middle evolution awkwardness starter Pokemon are known for. I kept the slender body type but gave it more of an extreme curve, as I wanted the height difference of the front and back ends to be more pronounced in this design. You can see how I played around with the inclusion of legs and feet more similar to Igby's and that are more reptilian in nature, but I really wanted to push this design beyond the restrictions of its real-world counterparts in order to create something truly cool and original. I also brought down the bush on Igby's back and replaced it with individual heart-shaped leaves that represent an iguana's spines more accurately. Then I added yellow hearts as seen on Igby's bush to the back leaves and to the crest on its front as well. I was worried at first about making this design look too dainty, but this is Pokemon after all and you can let your imagination wander a little. I kept the color scheme essentially identical to Igby's, which looks nice, but I'm somewhat regretting as I could have played around with more extreme options, something sometimes seen in second stage starter Pokemon evolutions. I kept the eyes mostly the same but changed up the shape a bit and added a few more stripes to the body in order to spice things up a bit. I also gave it sort of socks or shoes on the front legs in order to cover the toes, which I ended up not including in the initial design and seemed a bit too different from Igby's. Other than that, I think I did a pretty good job of keeping a lot of the details of the first and second stages of this line the same, while making something that is new and unique to its previous evolution. With that being said, I'm happy to introduce to you the second stage of the grass starter line of the Mista Region, Veradash, the Heart Lizard Pokemon. Veradash hang around in groups of other Veradash, who all compete to have the best looking flowers. It claims the best spots in the meadow for its group in order to get the best sunlight. The more sunlight they absorb, the stronger their attacks are. This Pokemon has the abilities Overgrow and Solar Power. Like I said, this design came pretty easily to me and I'm very happy with the end result. I really pushed the boundaries of giving this mon a sleek and stylized design, much like that of Servine, which I think ended up being to its benefit. If you pay attention to its stats, you can see that this mon is gearing up to be a slow special attacker in its final form. All in all, I had a blast designing this mon and I hope that you enjoy it as well. I think it does a pretty good job of capturing the rich kid smugness that I was going for in the initial plans. Moving forward, while Veradash's design came pretty easily to me and I ended up spending around 3 hours total on completing it, I struggled heavily in bringing this third evolution to life and ended up spending over 7 hours trying to make it look right. I wanted this Pokemon to represent elegance and class, being based on the upper class, royal, and elite of society. Originally, I planned to stretch the legs and neck out as much as possible and give it a graceful head shape that would be reflective of Pokemon such as Serperior, Primarina, and Cyndaquil. I also had the idea to add a number of fancy features to this mon's exterior, like long braids formed by leaves and a crest on its head in the form of a big fancy floppy hat, also made of foliage. I ended up scrapping these early plans for a hyper elegant ladylike design when I realized that this mon was starting to not look like a combination of an iguana and a Dimetrodon. While I could have made the decision to stick with my original plans for this design, I felt as if it didn't serve its purpose as a cool feminine starter Pokemon that still felt powerful. I kept the form of the Pokemon graceful and tall, but made the specific features more reptilian in appearance. Along many points in the process, the design was getting way too complex and cluttered while I was testing out various features. I really wanted to go all out with the extravagance for this final form as I intentionally held myself back for the previous forms, but I felt it was important to still be restrictive in this mon's design, just so that there wasn't too much going on. I felt as if it would be alright to make a mon based on an iguana and a Dimetrodon this tall and mammalian because Dimetrodons are not actually reptiles. They have been misleadingly referred to as mammal-like reptiles when in actuality they are non-mammalian synapsids, synapsids being the class that includes both mammals and early groups related to mammals. It is believed that Dimetrodons and their early relatives evolved into mammals, and I thought that this would be a cool inclusion in the Grass Starter line's theme to fit with the Grass Starter trend of evolution. What I did choose to include in this design was a heart-shaped crest on the front of the mon that was made of the same wood as the stripes on Igby and Veradash's designs, connecting to more of the same substance that covers this mon's underside. I knew I didn't want too many wood stripes on this mon, so I put them on the neck and front legs only. I also took the cheek circles on Igby and Veradash's designs and stretched them out into vague heart shapes to keep with the theme of the line. Another big decision was how to shape the foliage on the back, which I ended up deciding to make a big vague heart shape as seen on Igby's back, as it keeps things simple and on point. In hindsight, this design comes off as far more threatening and less elegant than I had originally intended, and I wouldn't be surprised if I returned to it in the future to really bring out the serene grace I originally intended it to emit. This Pokemon is definitely very cool, but I think I kind of missed the mark on royalty and elegance. Not to mention that I didn't base it off any specific high class or royal reference material, so it sort of seems like a mashup of different things. That being said, I am very happy to introduce to you the final evolution of the Grass Starter line for the Mista Region, Elegana, the elegant Pokemon. Elegana are extremely prideful of their appearance. It can spend all day primping its foliage in the sunny meadows it calls home. It is respected by the other Pokemon it protects, who bring it offerings of berries found in the woods. It stores massive solar energy in its back bush. Like its previous evolutions, this Pokemon has the abilities Overgrow and Solar Power. Looking back on this design, I'm very happy with how it looks, but it still doesn't exactly match the level of elegance that I wanted it to emit. Instead of a big floppy hat or a heart-shaped crest on the top of the head, I decided instead to give it a sharp leaf as a sort of hat. You may also notice that this Pokemon has adopted the fairy typing, another inspiration for the elegance in this design. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to start a Pokemon that ended up being grass and fairy, and I think I did a decent job of representing the fairy type. However, if I were to do this again in the future, then I definitely would have pushed the cuteness and fairy typeness a bit more in the design. So, now we've met all of the evolutions for the Grass Starter line of the Mista Region. I hope you enjoyed learning about the design process that went into these Fakemon, and I hope you will continue with me on this journey to discover the full regional dex of the Mista Region. I also encourage you to comment down below with what other Fakemon you would like to see inhabit this hypothetical Pokemon region based on my home of New England. In the next episode, we will be meeting both the evolved forms of the fire starter of the Mista Region, Shyson. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. This video came out a bit later than I had hoped, what with the holidays and because I've been having a blast playing my copy of Shining Pearl. But I do hope to have a new video out roughly each week, so check back and click the bell button to keep up with the Mista Region dex. Until then, thanks so much for joining me and have a great rest of your day.